When I saw this watch for the first time, I thought, right, another Rolex homage, but then something made me to double take. Something didn't add up. The case profile, the inverted end links, aggressively cut, very distinctive bezel grip, and then I realized, of course, it is a vintage homage, one of my favorite vintage watches. So, did Baltany do justice to that iconic and seriously underrated diver from the 60s? Well, we have it here, so let's find out. Hello and welcome back. We release a video or two every week, so don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any of our upcoming reviews. This is the third Baltany on my channel. This time I picked this specific model for review and Baltany kindly agreed to send it over, and I don't have to send it back, hence you probably saw a pop-up at the start of this video. And as usual, in return I agreed to provide a comprehensive review of this timepiece, and of course there will be a link to product listing in the description of this video. Design. Okay, in case you haven't figured this one out by now, it looks to me like Baltany came up with a pretty cool homage to a vintage Tudor, or vintage Tudor Prince Submariner to be more accurate. Most of the elements of this watch point to a vintage Tudor Prince look: case, bezel and bracelet end links. In terms of hands, Tudor used Mercedes hour hands and Lollipop second hand before they moved to a now familiar snowflake look. Tudor did briefly revert to Rolex-style hands in the 90s or 80s, but that could be a subject of a completely new video. Now, having said that, Baltany did put their own design spin on hands here, and we will discuss it in more detail when we examine the dial. Dimensions. So we have a 40mm diameter bezel, which slightly overhangs the case by just under a millimeter on each side, and so the case is measured across at 38.5mm. The case height is 13.7mm, out of which about 1.5mm is taken by this boxed double dome sapphire crystal. Lug width is 20mm and we have a very manageable lug-to-lug distance of 47mm. The bracelet has a nice taper down to 16mm at the clasp, and at the full length this bracelet should cover up to 8.5 inches or 21.5cm wrist in circumference. And in the supplied stainless steel bracelet, this watch weighs 155 grams and 141 grams after adjusting it to my about 7-inch wrist. Moving to the case now, we have a full 316L stainless steel construction here, and the case finishing is very good, with a circular brushing on top of the lugs and mirror-polished flanks. A well-proportioned screw-down crown is protected by the crown guards. The crown is not signed, which is now emerging as a theme across Baltany timepieces. I did mention a few times that my preference would be some kind of branding, but hey, at least they are consistent. The back of the case is unremarkable, however still finished very well, with circular brushing on the back of the case and on the screw-on case back. The case is fairly flat, and with well-sculpted lugs, the case sits nice and flat on the wrist. And of course, we shouldn't forget 200 meters of water resistance, so in theory, this watch is suitable even for some recreational diving. Movement. Baltany used a Seiko NH38 movement here, which in essence is the same as NH35, but without the date complication, which is great because we get the reliability and dependability of popular Seiko movement while avoiding the ghost position of the crown on this no-date timepiece. So the crown has only two positions: first one when we unscrew it to wind the watch, and the second position to set the time. Bezel. Due to that well-finished pronounced bezel edge and due to that possibly slightly larger than usual overhang, engaging the bezel is a comfortable and even somewhat satisfying affair. The resistance is a bit on the light side, but sufficient enough to keep the bezel in place, and the action is nice and tactile. There is an ever so slight backplate, but not too much, and combined with the aluminium insert, bezel gives that nostalgic vintage feel, which is very well suited to this retro aesthetics of this watch. And here is how this bezel sounds. Crystal. We have a boxed sapphire crystal here, which is simply Excellent. First, purely from functional perspective, a highly resistant sapphire actually provides additional scratch protection to more scratch-susceptible aluminum bezel insert. Second, it is just a very clear, well-crafted double-dome boxed crystal. The anti-reflective coating is very effective, and a subtle distortion that this crystal produces at sharp angles works very well with the vintage design of this watch. This is my third Baltany watch, and the quality of their crystals is simply superb. Taking into account that boxed sapphire crystals are considerably more expensive to manufacture, this little but subtle detail makes this Baltany punch way above its price point. Dial is executed in the style of the period, so to speak. It is fully printed, and the hour markers are quite generously painted with the retro Swiss superluminova, as we will see in a moment when we look at the Lume performance. We have a very modest amount of writing on the dial, brand name on top and two-liner at the bottom. I like the choice of font here, especially for a logo and for the water resistance. The brand font is distinctly Baltany, while the water resistance font is in Tudor and Rolex style. We also have a very interesting design approach to the handset. The second hand is well finished and is long and elegant, so no surprises here. However, the Mercedes hour hand is somewhat larger than usual, and the SWAT minute hand is really prominent and actually somewhat unusual in this setting. Initially I thought these are a bit oversized, however, this look did grow on me eventually after a few days of wearing this watch, and these slightly larger proportions do come with benefits. First, the dial is really very legible. Second, the finishing of the hands is really good and they bounce the light really nicely, further enhancing the legibility of the dial. And thirdly, these larger hands have more space for that tasty retro superluminova, so just holding this watch by the window for about a minute is enough to charge these hands for a lovely glow. And here is the actual Lume footage. Hands and the bezel Lume pip seem to glow a bit stronger than the hour markers, but it has little effect on the legibility. And in general, the Lume is very good. It is bright and it just lasts and lasts. And I think it will put to shame a lot of other divers of the similar style, priced considerably higher than this humble Baltany. Bracelet. Well, my personal recommendation, get this watch on a bracelet. And not only you can always find a strap or a NATO style option to replace it with those 20mm lugs, but it is actually a really good all-arounder bracelet. We have solid inverted end links and solid links. The integration with the case is well done and the bracelet finishing is very good too. The oyster-style links are highly polished in the center and on the sides. I'm not a big fan of center-polished links, but in this case it gives that premium vibe to this tool diver. The links are connected by screws and the bracelet tolerances are very good. Moving on to the clasp, and we get a well-crafted, fully milled double pusher clasp here. I like that Baltany chose to have a brushed finish on the outer part of the clasp, which is more exposed to potential scratches, and we have a well-polished chamfers along the sides. From the functional and comfort perspective, we have three well-spaced macro adjustments, the double pusher mechanism is very robust, and we have this additional chamfers on the inside of the deployment arms, providing additional comfort on the wrist. I think I only saw similar chamfers on my Seiko Alpinist clasp, and that watch cost about $700. So I need to mention the price, and of course we need to draw a conclusion. So what is my verdict? Well, to have a fully comprehensive review, I need to do my job. I need to highlight the negative points. Well, with Baltany, it is easy, and it is not the first time I cover this. It would be nice if Baltany introduced some kind of branding on their crown and on the clasp. So yes, something to think about, but honestly, Seiko will not do cyan crowns on a $1,200 watches, so on this watch, this is not a deal breaker for me. Now, on the positive side, well, for $149 at the time of making this video, there is a lot of watch for the money here. Really well designed and crafted timepiece with high quality materials and high quality of execution. And this vintage-inspired dial should please a lot of no-date purists out there, so another reason to get this watch. And it will definitely give a run for the money to other vintage divers from all other brands that I've reviewed so far. So, did Baltany deliver here what possibly Tudor should have done? Well, what do you think? Do let us know in the comments. And for more Rolex and Tudor homages, I have a full playlist which I will link on the screen somewhere here, so you can pick and choose what reviews you want to watch. And if you enjoyed this review, do hit that like button, and of course, don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already done so. And as always, thank you for watching, take care, and I will see you in the next video.